So expect things to get weird, expect things to be unexpected, and learn how to be comfortable with that. Because that's the way that we are stepping into our mastery of becoming alchemists, and also our mastery of our intuition as the innate survival skill that it is, and really learning how to just fully navigate it all. Welcome to a brand new weekly reading right here on my channel. Rissa Vibes here, aka Readings by Rissa. So excited to connect with you as always. Today we are back again for a brand new weekly reading. We're going to be covering the month of November, November 22nd to November 29th, just before we move into another month, the last month of the year. So much to go over today, so much to talk about. Today is the 22nd, and this is such a powerful day. Think about the numerological aspects of this. We have 1122 ending the 1111 portal that we had last week. Such a powerful day today as we really align with those number ones, that number 11, into more of this awareness of duality and unity amongst duality with those twos, okay? And twos represent faith, they represent duality, they represent balance. And again, the ones, those double ones in November represent alignment and understanding alignment and connecting to yourself within as well. So many ways to really feel into the energy of this day and to really honor the 1111 portal and the thinning of the veil portal that really kind of gave us the momentum and built us up into this 1111 portal that just ended with today's date. So let yourself integrate, let yourself reflect, let yourself feel into all the ways that you have aligned more with your goals, with your soul work, with your spiritual growth, your aspirations, your intuition, with soul family, with healing and cleansing in your life, with awareness of divine intelligence. Just let yourself reflect on all the ways that you have come into alignment this year. That is what this portal is all about, with the 1122 energy, kind of just ending all of those huge spiritual activations that we just received all of last month, okay? So such a powerful day for us to connect at 1:11 p.m. Central Time, as we always do every Sunday. And I'm so excited for all of you who may be just watching these readings for the first time. Welcome. My name is Rissa Vibes, and I am a professional intuitive and intuitive coach. And that means I help spiritually curious people tap into their intuitive gifts and walk their enlightenment path. So if that's something that you're interested in, I offer a variety of services, readings, workshops, one-on-one coaching. So definitely check out the link in the description if you'd like to book a session with me later on. But in the meantime, let's do a little bit of a review of all the cards I pulled last week from last week's weekly reading. And again, hello to all the veterans joining who are always here every week. Good to see you all. It's been so fun to do these pre-recorded readings so that I can actually chat live with all of you as we watch the premiere together. That was so fun to do last reading. So I'm super excited that I get to do that again today. So let's go ahead and go over a review of last week before we get into this week's weekly reading. Last week I pulled the enchantment card, and this was really letting us know that manifestation was on the rise and that we had so much magic and power with the Scorpio new moon energy that we had last week, and the energy of the awareness of our mystic selves and our manifestation aspects, and the way in which we were creating action behind our manifestations finally from that Mars retrograde ending. Then in the middle of the week, I pulled the War and Peace card. This was about really recognizing the duality within and the duality outside of ourselves, recognizing what sacrifices we needed to make in order to find peace from the inner struggles that we were having or outer struggles we were having, recognizing the ways in which we may be resisting change, and learning how to surrender so that we don't have that interpersonal conflict between, resistance and alignment, okay? And then the end of the week card was emotional energy. This card was really highlighting our clairsentience, our empathic ability, our sensitivity to energy on an emotional wavelength, and our ability to feel other people's emotions and the mass collective and the energy that was circling around us throughout such pivotal change in the stars. So we are still in that energy right now. And if you're feeling extra sensitive, if you're feeling that emotional energy really kind of starting to consume you, make sure you do what you need to do to release it. Maybe it's taking a nice soothing bath. Maybe it's going for a run or a nice walk outside. Maybe it's cuddling with your dog. Whatever it is, let yourself do something to release some of the tension or some of this heightened sensitivity of emotional energy you may be feeling if it's heavy. And if it's not heavy, if it's inspiring and exciting, do something with it, create with it, evolve into some kind of new awareness or some kind of beautiful conversation or development with that energy that you can have to create and inspire more of it. You can also do that with the heavier energy, right? You can create from that space and transmute it in an alchemist way. So let yourself reflect on how you can do that, especially since we're ending that portal today on 11/22. Such a great way to kind of honor that with some creativity and intuitive connection to our gifts, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and start with the spirit messages of this week, 11/22 to 11/29. These are the messages that I receive from all of my meditations, the readings that I do, the energy that I feel from the mass collective, and tons of dreams and premonitions that I get as well throughout the week that lets me know exactly how the energy is going to unfold for the week to come. So let's dive in first with this reminder from a few weeks ago of one world becoming two. This was the first spirit message that came forth for me, and it was so powerful because it was reminding me of when I had that powerful realization from my guides where we are kind of currently splitting into two worlds. We're recognizing this duality amongst the mass collective, and we're seeing how, different sides are being chosen in so many different ways, not just in a economic or governmental way, but in a social structure way, in a personal way, in a cultural way. There's these big divisions that we're seeing happening on so many levels, and it really is our one world becoming two. But I don't want you to think of it as a sense of separation and war or a sense of an intense kind of loss or tragedy. Instead, it's this awareness of what can no longer cohesively work together and thus must create its own environment. And so as it creates its own environment, it creates more of itself and it creates new things. And so it's not so much an ending as it is more of a beginning. It's this awareness of, the cells separating, right? And creating new life, new paths, new worlds. And so this isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it's not going to feel like a bad thing for most people, especially those people who've done the spiritual work to really adapt to change, to understand what their intuition is guiding them on so that they can choose, the world that most aligns with them and to feel comfortable in it. And it's really also this awareness on a deeper level that we have these two worlds within our one world as humans. We are a world. We are an ecosystem, essentially. We have cells. We have all these different systems working together, these organs. We've got all these different things in our mind, neurons, synapses. We have all of these things working together in harmony, but so different in their own way and having kind of a life of their own. And so we are, as human beings, as light beings, one world. And we do become two worlds when we kind of allow ourselves to recognize the difference between our inner world and our outer world, when we recognize the difference between our mind and our heart, spirit, and our physical experience. So this understanding of duality doesn't have to be a fighting of both sides. It can be just this understanding and observation of both sides of things and a way to really choose which is most in alignment to us at any given moment and navigating that in a graceful way. So think about that. Think about that this week as we see certain dualities show up, certain decisions showing up, certain, contrasts showing up, encouraging us to see one world becoming two, the inner world, the outer world, the inner earth, the outer earth, the 3D, the 5D. And acknowledging the depths of that duality is going to help you see things way, way, way more spiritually and symbolically, which is going to give you deep insight that a lot of people don't have because they're not encouraging or challenging themselves to dive deeper and acknowledge those depths of duality. Instead, most people get afraid of the duality or nervous with it, or just wanting to, see everything in harmony, so they don't want to look at it. But instead, we can be the alchemists. We can look at duality and appreciate it, understand it, work with it, and make magic with it. Now, in that awareness of making magic with duality, making magic with things like our inner world and our outer world, that yin and yang aspect of ourselves and the world, we are also seeing, as most of you know, this second wave of the pandemic happening, this lockdown part 2, this phase 2 of this pandemic. And as we see this approaching, we're recognizing how people are reacting differently or the same as they did when the pandemic first struck. It's going to be so important to notice this, because as you notice the way people are reacting, right, or responding, depending on what energy they're coming from, maybe they're reacting or they're responding. We know the difference because we've been doing these readings for some time and we've been talking about this, right? As you recognize the way in which they are reacting or responding differently this time, you're going to notice if they've progressed and learned from the way in which change has abruptly entered our lives, and the way in which, unexpected experiences have shifted things. Or you're going to recognize the lack of progress in that. Maybe they've regressed. Maybe they had it together the first time, but this time they're really losing it. Or maybe vice versa, right? Or maybe they're staying steady and they're reacting pretty similarly. Notice this, because this is going to let you know kind of how to navigate those experiences in the grocery store, in the banks, in the parking lots, things like that, in your apartment complexes and things like that. Recognize how people are responding to the second wave, because I'm going to tell you right now, it is going to be more intense because people are really at their wits' end with this already, and now we're going back into another phase of it. And people have lost more people in their family, they've lost people they love, they've been more infused with fear from the media, they've been more charged up and triggered from the election in whatever way that they have been, and there's just a lot of heightened and built up energy. When we have heightened and built up energy and there's not a lot of places for it to go because we're locked down or quarantined, what happens? It implodes or explodes, right? And so it can either implode by kind of creating chaos and turmoil, depression, suicide increase, things like that. We've been seeing anxiety increase, panic attacks within the person because they're storing all of that tension in and kind of letting it fester within them. Or they're going to be, really revved up and very antagonistic and aggressive and maybe even violent, or just, manic, or kind of losing their minds in certain ways, really lashing out. So I want you to pay attention to the people around you, the people that you love, the people you interact with, the people you see every day, people that you don't really know, but that you also see every day. Really recognize how they are reacting to this phase 2 as it approaches, because as it approaches, the buildup of energy is happening. So you want to pay attention to that now so that you can really navigate it in a way of helping that person, or in a way of kind of avoiding that energy if you need to, when this phase 2 actually hits, okay? Now, there are 2 ways to approach this second wave of the pandemic, and we now have so much wisdom as we have experienced one already, the first wave. Now, one way to approach it is seeing this second wave as a challenge and being completely sick and tired of it, right? Just being sick of it, knowing it's a challenge, knowing it's hard, knowing it's excruciating to have to go back into lockdown or quarantine, or not be able to go out and see your friends like you wanted to, or not be able to do the things you wanted to do for the holidays. And we can maybe react with a lot of anger and fear and judgment and doubt and depression and grief. That's one way that we can choose to react or respond to this. I would consider this more of a reaction than a response, because it has a lack of mindfulness, a lack of reflection, a lack of centered perspective. But this is one approach that we can take to this second wave. Now, I wouldn't say this is the approach that I would want to take, but it's absolutely up to you. The choice is yours. This is just one way to do it. But the other way that we can approach this second wave of the pandemic and the second lockdown is to, yes, still see it as a challenge, because it's a challenge for all of us to be, away from the people we love, or to be limited in what we do, or to, have certain, things come up that are unexpected in our lives because of it. But we can see it as a challenge, and the challenge that it is, and we can choose to do more with it. We can choose to be the alchemist. We can choose to do more than we did last time with it. I know for me, an example of this for me was to recognize how much creative energy and how much time that I had available in that first lockdown to create. But because I was kind of so shell-shocked by it, as so many people were, I didn't really take the time to create as much as I'd like to. So this one, I feel like, okay, this is my opportunity to not be shell-shocked, but instead really create from this time, to go within and to be, in my own home more often, and to not have as many outside obligations, so that I can actually create a lot from that place, and to observe the energy and create from inspiration of that, right? So this is just one example. So choose wisely on how you want to respond or react to this second wave, and see if you can find wisdom from the first wave of the pandemic that can help you deepen and enlighten your experience in this one in a positive way, okay? Now, I will say with that being said, of course, be mindful, be respectful, honor people's choices, honor people's beliefs when you're in public places, honor the elders, honor the ancestors, honor the people who are immune, deficient, and just are having and have immune issues. Honor people with compassion and consideration. Honor people how you would want to be honored if you felt that way, or if you thought that way, or if you were in that bracket, because it's a part of our own duty as light beings and conscious beings to also be very heart-centered. And if we start getting wrapped up in maybe what we believe about the pandemic, or what we may have heard, or what we've kind of chosen for ourselves, we can then cut ourselves off from actually the care and consideration for our fellow man, fellow human, fellow, light being, or just soul that is in our presence, that needs that care and consideration from us to stay healthy, or stay in a place of feeling safe, okay? We want to let everybody feel safe, no matter what their beliefs are. And that's part of our duties here on Earth. That's what we came here to do, is to promote a safe and considerate, compassionate, and loving and peaceful world. So make sure your actions are less judgmental and more from a heart-centered place with this new wave of the lockdown coming in as well. But still honor yourself, but just make sure that you're finding balance in that you're finding a way to harmonize any duality or contrast there. And of course, I'm going to redirect all of you and remind all of you to watch the Holistic Healing series, the Shining Light on Holistic Healing series that I did about a month ago. It's so important for you to watch that if you're feeling like you need a little vibrational boost, if you want to raise your vibration, if you want to learn more ways about keeping your immune system healthy and safe during this time, especially since we have the flu season happening too as well. So make sure that you tap into new ways to heal yourself on not just a physical level, but also a mental, emotional, and spiritual level, because everything starts with energy. So we want to really attack it at its core. And if you're feeling like you need a little of that education, or just a little of those practices to help raise your vibration or your immune system, definitely check out that Shining Light on Holistic Healing series that I did right here on my YouTube channel. It has all of the amazing series and events that we did for that Shining Light event. And it was so exciting to have those modalities presented by all of those amazing luminaries that shared their gifts with us. So definitely use that as a part of your toolbox to keep healthy and stay in a good vibration during this time as well. Now, It's so important as we talk about this to move into your heart, because there is a lot of change happening. We've been talking about the changes that have been going on, and even last week we felt those changes kind of kick up into an even faster pace, and we're recognizing how that can feel kind of overwhelming, a little bit stressful, a little bit scattered, and we are going to feel that still throughout the week, except we're going to be called to really make some big decisions this week, and the decisions that we're called to make are going to help us choose which world we are wanting to align with as the mass collective starts to kind of create a separation. We've got a big energy happening in December 21st to the 31st is going to be a kind of big breaking apart from that 3D to 5D energy, and we're going to notice that those one worlds becoming two is going to really show up. So right now we're kind of making the decisions in our lives that reflect what world we're choosing to sign up for. What I mean by this is, if we continue to choose to make decisions based on greed, materialism, narcissism, ego, shadow, making decisions out of lack of consideration for others, out of manipulation, out of deceit or deception, or even out of an energy of confusion and not following our heart and not following our intuition, kind of refusing to dive deeper into ourselves, refusing to do the work of our healing or of our shadow work or of our cleansing that we need to do. If we continue to choose those, make decisions based off that, then we're going to start to slip into a world that reflects that energy and really kind of surrounds and is consumed by that energy. Now, if we start to make more decisions this week and throughout the rest of our year, and of course this has been a long time coming, this has been a lifelong journey, so it's not something that we can just start making those decisions and expect a huge turnout. We can step into that other world, but we want to be consistent, we want to be genuine, we want to follow through with that. So making decisions on your intuition, making decisions on your passion, making decisions for the betterment of the world, for your service to the world, out of your care and consideration for others, out of your, desire to be better and to always, accomplish more for yourself and to be the best person you can be and the most complete person you can be. If you're making decisions based off that, and you're making decisions that's based off your intuition, you're following the signs, you're following the guidance, you're taking those leaps of faith because you feel your spirit calling you, and you know that it's so important for you to trust. When you're doing that, you're going to step into that world that really rewards you for that and brings you more opportunities and abundance that aligns with that and helps you feel that peace and joy that you're wanting. So pay attention to the way in which you're making those big decisions and use your heart, because when you move into your heart from your mind, you release a lot of that ego, you release a lot of the judgment, you release a lot of the fear and the doubt and even the pessimism that might be keeping you stuck to that third dimensional kind of energy. And so if you can move from your mind into your heart by literally imagining your energy, your consciousness, your focus moving into your heart, you're going to recognize how much more easily your answer comes and how it might change even and bring you into another world or another timeline or another vibration. So we are being forced to make those choices on which world we want to live in. And these are the big life decisions that are going to help us step into those worlds. So make them from an intuitive and a patient place. Don't rush. Don't make decisions out of desperation. Don't make choices that feel rushed or feel forced or feel not all the way clear. If things aren't all the way sure, make sure that you wait it out. Let the grid fill in, as Abraham Hicks says. If you don't have that deep knowing that you are meant to do that thing, but you know that that's something you're going to probably need to do soon, don't do it yet. Do it when you know it's time to do it now. But don't try to do it too early, because there may be some divine timing that you miss out on because you jump too soon. And avoid sloppiness. Avoid sloppiness in the follow through of your intuition. Make sure that on tasks or spiritual assignments, on shadow work or enlightenment work or intuitive work, that you stay organized in your mind, you stay clear, you stay open and centered, you stay really organized in your projects as well, and the blueprints and your plans, And make sure you follow through with every step. Don't cut corners. Don't be sloppy, okay? Because these are the things that are really building the foundations for next year. And you don't want to build a sloppy foundation. You want to build a stable and secure one. So make sure that you're taking your time making your decisions, that you're taking your time feeling everything out. You're taking your time to build things and make them the highest quality. And you're really taking time to structure everything right so that it does what you need it to do, okay? So powerful. And be precise and thorough. Be very precise and thorough in the execution of your goals and the execution of your projects and your big moves that you're making in this changing period right now. So important through this transformation to not be sloppy or to not be rushed. Be precise, be thorough, stay focused on the flow, but also stay focused on what you need to do next by really feeling into what is most a priority or what is most exciting. And that's how you're going to really know what to do next. And then flow from there. Follow the good feeling energy, follow the ease of energy, follow the things that are kind of intuitively calling you or drawing you to do them now. And this is going to help you create. This is going to help you create all your miracles for next year. We're making room for next year by releasing things, releasing baggage, creating organization, making time and space for things that we need to make time and space for to manifest certain things. So pay attention to your input. I think that with the lockdowns starting to happen again, this is actually a great time for us to focus on what we're putting into our bodies, what we're putting into our minds, what we're putting into our emotions, into our hearts, what we're letting into our spirit, and paying attention to if it matches what we want to put out into the world and what we want to do in our lives and achieve in our lives. And be your own filter, be your best filter, because as you are your filter for this, you start to become more aware and more wise in the way in which you can really kind of harmonize that input and output even more. All right. A couple of other things I want to mention for the spirit messages side before we get into the astrology, and we do have a full moon in Gemini literally the day after next week's reading, but I am going to talk about some of the characteristics because it's actually happening that night, that Sunday night, but it's technically after midnight, so it's technically on the 30th. So I want to make sure I prep all of you for that Sunday night full moon. So we will talk about that in a second. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about some of the energies as we approach the intensity and the buildup of change and the buildup of this one world becoming two and this kind of separation of energies. We're going to feel a little scatterbrained, okay, this week especially. We're going to feel a little bit flighty. We're going to feel a little bit like we want to run or we want to hide from maybe responsibilities or decisions because they feel like there's just too much pressure around them or too much, too much energy, it's too overwhelming. But we really want to be mature. We really want to take accountability. We really want to be responsible for the decisions we have to make and for the things that we have to face and get through and, flow through. So if you're scatterbrained, if you're flighty, if you want to run, fight or flight, don't let the fears and doubts create too much noise, okay? If you start to feel anxious or panicked, give yourself time to meditate, give yourself time to breathe, give yourself time to go outside and just walk a little bit, clear your mind, take a nap, do things that can help you feel more focused and centered, but do not avoid the decisions you have to make. Do not avoid the changes you have to face or move through. Don't avoid the conversations you have to have or the boundaries you have to set, because this is so important for us and it's a test. Remember, I talked about tests a long time ago, right before we hit all of those portals that we just hit. And I talked about how important it was for us to pass the tests in order to receive the gifts. And again, we're going to be doing this in a big way this week. So make sure you pass the test and don't ignore things, but instead cope with them with mindfulness and intuition and healing, holistic healing. Now, again, I want to chat a little bit about shadow work just for a second. We've been talking about this for a few weeks, and I'm going to be doing a really powerful series on a new platform for all of you to enjoy and do shadow work with me. As I become vulnerable with you on the shadow work I'm doing, I'm going to be encouraging you to be vulnerable in the shadow work you're doing and giving you a guide on how to do it in real time. So as we prepare for this, it's going to be happening soon, so get ready. I encourage all of you to go out and buy a journal that will kind of represent your shadow work journey and have that ready for when we dive in together shortly. I'm thinking in the next couple of weeks I'll be launching this, but I'm really not rushing it, right? I'm letting Spirit decide because there's such a divine timing in this. But I want to remind all of you as we prepare for the shadow work that, and as we do it on our own naturally, because we already happen to be doing it right now, but we're going to dive deeper into it with deep reflection together. And the shadow is the rejected parts of us. This was something that Chad posted the other day, and actually I think it came from my dear client Savannah originally, but it's this energy of shadow being rejected. I think it was a repost of some kind, but the shadow is the rejected parts of us, not the worst parts of us. And I want to remind you all of that because we've talked about shadow work so much, and they are the things that are uncomfortable, that we don't like to face, that kind of represent things that we aren't really always proud of, but they don't necessarily have to be the worst parts of ourselves. They can be the parts of ourselves that we just simply ignore or rejected or thought were not so great, but actually are really beautiful and amazing and can provide us such amazing, power and manifestation and abundance. So I want you to think about that as we prepare for shadow work together, and just get ready for announcements on that as well in these readings and also in the email list. So if you haven't joined my email list, that's definitely where you're going to get an invite to the shadow work series and the kind of collaborative community that we're going to introduce with that. So if you haven't joined the Vibes e-list, there is a link in the description of this video to join that right here, right now. That will also give you updates and reminders on events as they come up, and you'll also get notifications and announcements of events before anyone else. So definitely join that e-list if you're looking to get the inside scoop a little earlier than most and to get notified of that shadow work stuff we're going to be doing together. All right, the last little message I have for the spirit side of things before we do the astrology messages is to be grateful for the healing that you've accomplished this year, and to also recognize what healing is needed that has been exposed for you this year. These are such important lessons, the ways in which we can appreciate how we've healed ourselves, how we've really evolved, how we've grown into more healed versions of ourselves, and really honoring that and being proud of ourselves for that. But then also recognizing, there's been a lot that's been exposed on what we can do better, on how we can be more strong, more centered, more balanced, and really care more about our healing and do the work to really embody more healed energy, and not just for ourselves, but for others. So really letting ourselves kind of share the healing knowledge that we have with others who need it as well is going to be such a powerful way that we can give back. And things are going to get weird soon, you guys. That's my last spirit message, is things are going to get weird soon. I have been feeling such a buildup of energy. Remember, I was telling you that I felt something going to happen in September, like it was just going to be really, really intense. Then nothing really happened. We had a lot of little things that kind of combined into a big energy that definitely represented a big shift in September that we all felt. But I think it was kind of pushed back a little, the actual embodiment or the physical representation of it. And I think we're going to start to see all of that really soon, especially with the second wave of the pandemic. So expect things to get weird, expect things to be unexpected, and learn how to be comfortable with that, because that's the way that we are stepping into our mastery of becoming alchemists, and also our mastery of our intuition as the innate survival skill that it is, and really learning how to just fully navigate it all. And if you need help navigating it all, if you really want that mentorship, if you want that guidance, if you want to sharpen your tool in your intuition and your intuitive gifts so that you can walk this path of insanity that we're kind of on right now with all the energy, you want to walk it a little bit more with grace and with confidence, and and clarity, please reach out to me and click the link in the description and sign up for a one-on-one coaching consultation so that we can talk about the coaching programs that I offer for private mentorship. All right. Now let's go ahead and finish up with the astrology messages. But first, let me know how all of you are feeling. Go ahead and comment in the chat and in the comments if you're watching the replay of how you're feeling and how you're resonating with these messages. So excited to be able to connect with all of you in this Web of Light community that we build every single week. So with that being said, we always go over the astrology influences of the week coming up as well. So for this week, we have another moon coming up at the end of it, and we'll get into that in just a second. But first, I want to chat about the astrological influences leading up to that moon. First one is on today, 11/22. Today the sun moved into Sagittarius, and that really gave us this ability to see far ahead into our future more, to see the bigger picture, to be excited and, curious and adventurous about what's to come, and to find new ways to really be precise with our intention for the future. So this is a great time to create a vision board or to start kind of brainstorming about what you want to bring into your new year in 2021 and really allowing yourself to shine light on that awareness, okay? Then on the 23rd, which is tomorrow, we have Mercury trine Neptune, and that's going to give us this deep awareness of how to find more truth and where to look to find more truth, and also what truth we need to discover or uncover. So we're going to feel like we need to dig deeper into things or learn more about certain things that maybe we've been curious about but haven't had the motivation or the kind of aha moment to dive into and do research on. This is also an energy with the Neptune influence of imagination and creativity and kind of daydreaming energy. So you may feel kind of a contrast here where you're feeling, this deep need to communicate, new findings, new information, but kind of feeling also kind of dreamy and kind of like in your own world and a little bit kind of off into the distance and dreamy. I don't know how else to describe it. Kind of foggy, I guess, a little bit too. So let yourself flow through that. And this is why it's important to just kind of create a dream board or something like that, not to create something that you're actually, building off of with the information you're researching, but more so just gathering information and feeling into how you feel about it, okay? And this is also going to help us communicate truth as well, to communicate our true intentions, our true heart's desires. So that's going to be really helpful tomorrow. Then on Thanksgiving, because we do have Thanksgiving this week on Thursday, this is a powerful energy for us, of course, to give gratitude, to give thanks, to see within ourselves what we can appreciate about this year and what we can appreciate about the people in our lives and the things we've experienced and the healing we've accomplished and the wisdom we've gained. And also to recognize, the parts of ourselves that really need to do the work to achieve more abundance. And of course, it's Indigenous Peoples Day. We have this awareness of our heritage, of our ancestors, and we need to dive in to discover the truth, right? The truth behind our history and the truth behind our ancestral connections and really what that means for us and how we can honor our Indigenous roots and how we can honor the land and honor the people that we, maybe have had experiences with that we just didn't do right by, and maybe our people, our ancestors didn't do right by. And so we really want to find ways to honor the things that maybe haven't been honored in the ways that they should have been, and find ways to kind of transmute that. So respect your ancestors, respect the history, learn more about the history. Don't be ignorant during this holiday. Of course, it's a great, Of course, it's a great excuse to be thankful and to really appreciate what we have, but it's also a great excuse to learn more about the reality of this world and the duality of this world and how we can, learn that stuff in order for us to be inspired to change it and to embody change that will help the world become a better and more harmonious and unified place instead of a separatism energy or separate place. Okay, so This is a powerful energy. And on Thanksgiving, astrologically, the sun trines Chiron. And this is where healing happens. The sun highlights healing that's needed. It highlights where things have not been healed, or where things were, where people were attacked, and things were unjust, and things, were destroyed and disrespected. And so, we recognize how the sun is highlighting that so that we can heal our world and create new things that will do that. So our healing really resides in our compassion and our consideration of others and each other. And the more we can introduce that vibration into the Thanksgiving season, the more we can really transmute the history of it and create such a powerful energy of unity from that realization and from that kind of responsibility and accountability for what we can do better as a mass collective. And then on the 27th, which is Friday, we have Venus opposite Uranus, and then we also have Mercury sextile Pluto. Now this is interesting because Venus opposing Uranus is really kind of letting us appreciate what's different, appreciate what's unique, appreciating what has changed, which is going to be really great for all the change we've experienced. We're going to find an appreciation for it instead of a resistance for it with that influence on Friday. But then Mercury sextiling Pluto is really going to help us kind of communicate the rebirths and the wisdoms that we've had throughout this year from that conjunction all the way back in January, that stellium with Capricorn influencing Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter. And now we're seeing Mercury really going through all of these planets as well right after its retrograde, and kind of having a new wisdom from that retrograde entering Pluto for Friday, which is that rebirth, that wisdom, that kind of completion of things, and allowing us to communicate that consciously. And then this is going to also help us kind of break ties and contracts, communicate those conversations, those endings that we need to have as well. But then on the next day, on the 28th, Mercury sextiles Jupiter. So going right back into another one of those planets from the stellium, Jupiter being the expansion planet, the abundance planet, and Mercury really helping us express what abundance we want, what goals we want to achieve, what things we want to accomplish. And then on the 30th, because I'm just going to say, because it's just so important to note, then on the 30th, Mercury sextiles Saturn, which was another influence in that stellium. So then we're going to have more of that maturation and that responsibility and accountability of ourselves, this awareness of how we've matured, how we've grown, and this ability to communicate that maturity into our physical lives and to really allow that maturity to start doing amazing things for us. So that Mercury energy moving through Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn is going to be pretty powerful this weekend upcoming too. And to top it all off, to finish it all off, we'll talk just briefly about the full moon in Gemini, because we're going to talk all about it next week on the actual day of it. But I want to give you just a couple of things to consider as we approach the full moon in Gemini on the 30th. Technically the 29th, the night of the 29th, but technically the 30th. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, the full moon in Gemini, like I said, it's happening at 2:32 a.m. on the 30th of November, which is on Monday, next Monday. And it is the night of the 29th, so we're going to feel that shift overnight. And we will talk more about it, like I said, next Sunday, but this is going to give us some dualistic perspectives, this understanding of two sides of the coin, which is going to cause a little indecision. We're going to feel maybe like we're going to try to overanalyze things, overthink things. These are the shadow aspects of the Gemini, being confused and indecisive and kind of entering some mental chaos because of it. So be aware of that as we approach the full moon. If you're starting to feel some of that confusion or that indecision or overthinking, find ways to calm the mind down, to move into the heart, to remember your intuition, to do something different and then come back to it and kind of create a clean slate of energy. Because if you get into that place of overanalysis or overthinking, it's just going to keep spiraling. So you've got to stop that energy from spiraling and move it and redirect it in a different way. Trust me, I'm a Gemini. I know this. I'm an expert, so take my advice. We're also going to feel, though, on a positive side, more creativity, inspiration. We're going to feel enthusiastic and social, and we're going to be able to release anything that that's kind of been limiting us in that way. This is a great time to set intentions to release limitations of our intuition, limitations of our creative power, limitations of our communication. That is really going to be powerful for us. Now, we're also going to see how leadership and maturity and being assertive is going to work in our favor with that full moon in Gemini, especially when we approach it in a balanced way. And we're also going to have this understanding of both worlds as we see how one world becomes two. We're going to have this awareness, this intuitive observation. And it's going to help us make the choice of what world we want to sign up for. If we want to sign up for the 3D or the 5D, if we want to sign up for the inner world or the outer world focus, or the outer world power versus the inner world power. This is so important to acknowledge, and really the choice is yours, to make. That's what we came here to do, is to make choices. So notice the choices you've been making that have aligned you to a certain world, and notice if you want to keep making those choices and keep aligning to that world, or if you want to switch. Okay. And there's no judgment. This is going to just create a different experience in your life. So also be aware of what experience you may sign up for in that, okay? And be conscious and be patient with your creations. That's really what the message of the full moon in Gemini is going to be. So be patient. You may have to re-edit some timelines, re-edit some, plans, redraft some ideas. But if it's going to make it better, then trust it, okay? Trust it. All right, everybody. So that is the full reading of this week, 11/22 to 11/29. So let me know how you're resonating with all this. We're going to go ahead and end with a few cards to summarize it. And I want to remind all of you, as an announcement, I do have a Starseed event, a virtual Starseed gathering happening on December 3rd. And that is going to be such a powerful, powerful event. Definitely check it out. It's happening from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is, 6 to 8 p.m. Central time, and 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. I always have to do the math in my head. It's so crazy because Arizona, where I'm at, we don't do daylight savings time, so it's really hard to think about that when I'm talking to you guys, but I know it helps you guys when you can hear the time in your time zone. But if you need more information on that, the link is in the description to get more details and to sign up. And yeah, I've got a lot of exciting things that I'm going to be announcing. Pay attention to my Instagram at Readings by Rissa, and pay attention to the community page of this YouTube, because I'm also going to be announcing a little holiday sale for Thanksgiving, for the Thanksgiving season. So pay attention to that when Thanksgiving happens, because I'm definitely going to be just posting a little gift for all of you to enjoy, to be able to get some spiritual guidance, some messages from your spirit team, some one-on-one with me as I channel that through for you. So pay attention to that if that's something that you've been craving or needing in your life. I will be offering some deals soon for you. All right. I'm going to also pull a moon card. I kind of like the way the moons have been landing, where we get to do kind of a part one of the moon. Woo! There it is. Part one and a part two of the moon. So I'll pull another moon card, when we're actually talking about the moon on the day of it, on the 29th. But in the meantime, let's talk about the cards for this week. We've got Ecstasy for the beginning of the week. This is really encouraging you to feel into that Sagittarius energy, the sun in Sagittarius, allowing us to feel more joy, more excitement, more ecstasy for the changes to come, the new beginnings to come, and helping us see the bigger picture so that we don't get too afraid of the challenges we're being encouraged to shift through, but knowing that on the other side of them, there is great joy, great excitement, and great prosperity, okay? So beginning of the week card, Ecstasy. Let yourself feel pleasure, feel joy, and let you enjoy that energy for the future, okay? Now, just messed that up. That's okay. Middle of the week card is Archangel Michael. This is letting us know that we are protected, we are safe amongst all the changes and all of the ways in which we're recognizing how one world is becoming two, how things are being separated, how things are a little dualistic and divisive, but how we can appreciate both sides by having faith that it's all going to work out in our favor as we align to the world that we are most aligned with. We can call on Archangel Michael to help us really identify what we need to do for our light, for our vibration, to raise it into a level of clarity or intuition or guidance, and to feel even more protected in the choices we make and guided in the choices we make as we choose wisely. And then at the end of the week, letting us know that new beginnings are on their way. Focus on your intentions for the future. Like we talked about, we are paving the way for 2021 right now by letting go of the things that we no longer want in our lives and making room for what we do want and setting those intentions with that big picture perspective. So the beginnings are underway. Finally, I'm going to give you our full moon in Gemini. This is like a pre-card so that we can kind of get feeling the energy early, and it is the Ancient Power Mysteries card, and it says, this oracle guides you to honor the power of your voice, whether through spoken or sung words or through what you write, speak, or stand for symbolically. You have a potential, very powerful healing voice, and you are guided to recognize the responsibility that you have for what you proclaim through your voice. So really honor your voice, trust your voice, use your voice. There's a lot of Mercury influence with that, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn trine with Mercury. So using our voice to express our wisdom, to express our rebirth, to express our completions, to express our responsibility and maturation, to express our expansion and our abundance and our goals and desires. So let yourself express all of that through writing or communicating with friends, or just imagining it and meditating on it, because that's really going to help ground it in and manifest it into the physical. Okay? All right, everyone, I've had such a great time connecting with you today on this beautiful Sunday for a brand new weekly reading. If you enjoyed this reading, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you comment on the reading, and make sure you really let other people know that these readings are happening every week if you feel like they're going to benefit from them, because our Web of Light community is always growing and always calling in people who need this guidance and support, and I'm so happy to provide it. I can't wait to see you all soon. I hope to see you at the STARSEED event on December 3rd, but I know I'll see you before then next week for a brand new weekly reading at 1:11 p.m. Central Time right here on my YouTube channel. See you then. Peace.